MOH creates virtual health advisory to help address COVID-19's risk communication needs. Researchers take step towards COVID-19 vaccine with first 3D map. Good afternoon, thanks for joining us. You're watching Updates at Noon. I'm Jessica Lee. The Ministry of Health, MOH, has collaborated with a telemedicine platform, Doctor On Call, in creating a virtual health advisory to help address COVID-19's risk communication needs. Health Director General Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the collaboration, which was forged through a Memorandum of Understanding or MOU, enables the general public to access the program for free.
In a statement, he said the service offered by the portal is merely health advisory and not a diagnosis or treatment for patients. He said the consultation will be given directly by family health experts or medical officers via the platform using any devices with cameras, including mobile phones, tablets, laptops and personal computers. This virtual health advisory is hoped to help disseminate the latest, correct and accurate information about COVID-19, reduce congestion at medical facilities and provide preliminary virtual health advisory screening or triage to the public before they come to any health facility. The portal is accessible at www.moh.gov.my by clicking to coronavirus page or at www.doctoroncall.my/coronavirus.
Now, special initiatives will be offered to employers under the economic stimulus package, which will be announced on the 27th of February. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Amiruddin Hamzah said the initiatives are meant to ease the burden of employers affected by COVID-19 outbreak. The minister said the government had already engaged with the affected industry players and would consider all their suggestions and requests in preparing the stimulus package.
And of course, in the stimulus package, we are offering something that will ease the burden of the employers so that they will not make that decision of doing the laying off of their workers, but rather making sure that they are ready to pounce on the bounce back when it happens.
He also advised and encouraged affected industry players to retain and retrain their employees to prepare for a rebound. A local newspaper on Tuesday reported that the Malaysian Employers Federation, or MEF, predicted up to 100,000 people could lose their jobs if the COVID-19 outbreak persists until year end. It is said the number could be well over double the 40,000 retrenchment in 2019. The learning modules in a country's education institution must prioritise the aspects of character building and stress on leadership qualities in students. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad explained that this is vital in producing future leaders with calibre.
The Premier said bravery is the main leadership trait that every young leader should have.
Orang yang berani ialah orang yang memikir, menilai, menentukan kebolehan diri, menentukan cabaran yang dihadapi dan bertindak dengan berfikiran yang telah menilai cabaran yang dihadapi.
The Prime Minister also said a leader must be disciplined as shown by people in other developed countries such as Japan, where its main trait is that they are always punctual.
Now, the cabinet meeting yesterday did not discuss on the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines MH370 following the allegation made by former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott on the tragedy. Now, this was confirmed by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Aziza Wan Ismail.
No, it was in our agenda, and MOT, Minister of Transport, is overseas at a meeting, I think.
Abbott, in a documentary clip aired on 19 February, had alleged that top-level government officials believe the disappearance of flight MH370 was caused by the captain in a mass murder-suicide. 6 years ago, flight MH370 vanished from the radar on 8 March while en route to Beijing from Kuala Lumpur with 239 passengers and crew on board.
A motorcyclist died when he accidentally rammed into a lorry that was parked by the roadside in Kemaman yesterday evening. Kemaman Police Chief Hanyan Ramlan, who confirmed the incident, said it happened at 8:30 p.m. at kilometre 161 of the Jalan Jerangau Jabor near Bandar Cheneh Baru in Kemaman.
The victim, Muhammad Aiman Rozuki, who worked as a fishmonger assistant, was on his way to play futsal with his friends in Kuantan. He was believed to have failed to evade on time and then hit the back of a lorry, which killed him at the scene. Due to the strong impact, his motorcycle split into two. The body was sent to Kemaman Hospital for post-mortem. The case is investigated under Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987.
Now, a man who proclaimed himself to be the Crown Prince of the Jin Kingdom has been remanded for 14 days under Section 3 of the Drug Dependence Act, Treatment and Rehabilitation 1983 to allow further investigation to be done. The remand on the 34-year-old suspect was issued by Magistrate Hazwani Hussein Bustari in Dungun Magistrates Court.
The suspect, who tested positive for methamphetamine, was arrested after making a surau in a resort area in Bukit Bau, Dungun, as his castle since October 2018. The suspect was reported to be decorating the interior of the surau with yellow fabrics as well as various symbols and ornaments. The man's weird and creepy act had caused uneasiness of those who wanted to go to the surau and the surrounding area.
Still to come, Teraju needs 400 million ringgit allocation for facilitation fund. The Bumiputra Agenda Steering Unit, or Teraju, has applied for an allocation of 400 million ringgit for the Teraju Facilitation Fund program this year. Chairman Datuk Seri Mustafa Muhammad said the amount is the balance from the government's 2 billion ringgit allocation for the fund under the 10th Malaysia Plan that has not been disbursed.
In a statement, he said the program should be continued, adding an allocation of 2 billion ringgit has been applied under 12th Malaysia Plan for the continuation and implementation of Teraju's existing and new programs to drive the Bumiputra Agenda. Since its introduction in 2011, Teraju's Facilitation Fund has disbursed 1.76 billion ringgit worth of grants to 474 Bumiputra companies. The grants were for 550 projects with a total investment of 14.79 billion ringgit, which would create close to 50,000 jobs.
Now, following the surplus of watermelon production in Kelantan, the price of watermelons has dropped to as low as 50 cents per kilogram. Now, not wanting to be caught in the same predicament, the Terengganu Federal Agricultural Marketing Authority, or FAMA, has offered to buy the watermelons from participants of farm contracts under the Agriculture and Agro-Based Industry Ministry at 80 cents per kilogram. Terengganu Farmer Director Fauzi Mohamad said the offer to buy at 80 cents per kilogram involves premium-grade watermelons weighing more than 5 kilograms. Now, the fruits will be distributed to more than 100 retail outlets under the ministry.
Jadi saya rasa, saya jangka yang kita akan buat belian dalam 2-3 hari ini melibatkan lebih kurang antara 50 hingga 70 tan. Benda ni insya-Allah kita akan selesaikan di sekitar kawasan kita lah. Mungkin kita akan buat jualan di outlet ronci kita saja.
Fauzi said the peak of watermelon production in Terengganu are twice a year, namely between March and April, as well as between July and August in farms located in Setiu and Marang. The soy production in Paraguay could exceed 10 million tonnes in the current 2019-2020 season, which would mark an important recovery from the previous drought-hit crop.
Paraguay, the world's number 4 exporter of the oilseed, has already harvested about half of the 3.5 million hectares that had been planted in October and November. Deputy Minister Mario Leon said despite a slow start to the current season caused by lack of moisture, rains have normalized and the crop is progressing with good results. Average yields are above 5,000 kilograms per hectare in the highest producing areas of the country, he said, while the national average was 2,700 kilograms per hectare. The previous season produced only 8.5 million tons of soy.
Shootings in German city leaves at least 8 dead. Details right after this. The Hong Kong passengers from a coronavirus-stricken cruise arrived at Tokyo's Haneda Airport early this morning to board a plane home after being quarantined for 2 weeks off the coast of Japan.
Buses carrying passengers from the Diamond Princess liner were seen arrive at the airport's international terminal on Thursday. Airport officials and Hong Kong immigration officials wearing protective gear escorted them to the boarding gate. Japanese authorities announced 79 new cases had been discovered on board, bringing the total above 622, well over half of the known cases outside mainland China. More passengers, including Japanese and foreign nationals, are expected to disembark from the ship later on Thursday.
Now, researchers from the University of Texas at Austin and the National Institutes of Health released an image on Wednesday of the first 3D map of part of the coronavirus, saying that it is a step towards developing a vaccine. Now, scientists hail the map as a critical breakthrough for fighting the virus that has killed more than 2,000 people.
The image maps the spike protein, which researchers said, quote, is an essential step so researchers around the world can develop vaccines and antiviral drugs to combat the virus, end quote. The map was published on Wednesday in the journal Science. Research team leader Jason McLellan explained that the team was able to advance rapidly because of state-of-the-art technology called as cryogenic electron microscopy in UT Austin's New Sauer Laboratory for Structural Biology. Researchers and drug companies are scrambling to develop vaccines and treatments to fight the new coronavirus that emerged in central China in December and has spread to more than 24 countries. There are no proven treatments for the virus, and experts say it could take a year or more to have a vaccine ready. The hope is that strict quarantines in China and elsewhere will contain the virus spread long enough for scientists to develop tools to fight it.
8 people were killed on Wednesday in 2 shooting incidents in a German city near Frankfurt, and special forces were still chasing the gunmen who fled in a car. Heavily armed police sealed off 2 streets in the city of Hanau where ambulances had rushed.
A police helicopter hovered over the city east of the financial hub Frankfurt. The motive or motives for the shootings are still unclear. Local media said gunmen had opened fire at 2 shisha bars in Hanau. The gunmen fled the scene of the first incident in a dark-coloured car. Police have set up a hotline for members of the public with information that could lead to the perpetrators.
Meanwhile, in Australia, 3 young children and 1 man were killed on Wednesday in a horrific car fire that was declared a crime scene by the police in the northeastern Australian city of Brisbane.
Detective Inspector Mark Thompson of the Brisbane Police said a woman who was also involved in the deadly blaze was in the hospital with critical injuries. He told reporters Wednesday that the 3 children and the 2 adults were all known to each other. The investigation was still in its infancy, he said, adding that the family members of those killed still needed to be notified. The morning blaze in the quiet streets of the suburb of Camp Hill shook residents, with some recounting in news reports that they had tried to extinguish the fire but were beaten back by its ferocity. The newspaper The Australian reported that witnesses had said they saw a white car moving while on fire. One witness told the newspaper that residents stopped the vehicle by piling wood in its path and that the woman then fell out and was rolling on the footpath in flames.
The New York rapper Pop Smoke, aka Basha Barack Johnson, was fatally shot on Wednesday morning at a house in Hollywood Hills in California. The rapper was 20 years old.
4:55 this morning, multiple LAPD Hollywood units responded to a call at 2033 Hercules Drive in the Hollywood Hills. The radio call was called in by someone from back east and stated a friend of theirs' home was being broken into by multiple suspects and that one of them was armed with a handgun. When officers arrived there approximately 6 minutes later, they discovered a victim inside the house had been shot. They called the fire department, who arrived and transported that victim to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where he was pronounced dead some hours later. I'm not sure of the time he was pronounced. Officers detained several people who were inside the house. However, all of those folks were released. It was widely reported that someone at the scene was arrested. That is not true. No one was arrested at the scene.
The rapper's record label, Republic Records, confirmed his death on Twitter, posting, saying they were devastated by the unexpected and tragic loss of Pop Smoke. According to Variety.com, which sourced celebrity website TMZ, Johnson was at the residence at around 4:30 a.m. when 2 masked gunmen broke in and fired multiple shots, hitting the rapper, who was then taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead.
The jury selection began on Wednesday in the Los Angeles murder trial of Robert Durst, the ailing New York real estate scion whose arrest prosecutors say was hastened by his confession to multiple killings in a 2015 TV documentary, The Jinx. Durst, 76, is charged with the December 2000 murder of his longtime confidant, Susan Berman, a writer he is accused of fatally shooting because of what she might have known about the unsolved disappearance and presumed killing of his wife 2 decades earlier.
Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Mark Windham told prospective jurors assembled in the courtroom that the trial is likely to run for about 5 months. He plans to seat 12 jurors and 12 alternates in a selection process that could last the better part of 2 weeks. Opening statements are not expected until March. Durst, appearing frail, briefly stood from his wheelchair, steadied with help from 2 of his lawyers as his lead attorney, Dick DeGuerin, introduced him in the packed courtroom. DeGuerin told Reuters earlier that his client, who has pleaded not guilty, suffers from a number of severe health problems. He faces a maximum sentence of life in prison if convicted.
Coming up in sport, female referees to feature in 2020 Malaysian League matches. The female referees will be making their debut in the 2020 Malaysian League season, kicking off on the 28th of February. Football Association of Malaysia, or FAM, Referee Committee Chairman Muhammad Dali Wahid said the 2 women, a referee and an assistant referee, have been selected to take charge of Super and Premier League matches this year.
He added FAM had also trained an additional 30 referees and assistant referees for this season in an effort to continue producing local referees.
FIFA dan AFC mengiktiraf pengadil-pengadil kita dan atas alasan tersebut kita masih mengutamakan pengadil-pengadil tempatan. Walau macam mana pun terpulang kepada pihak IMFL ke nanti kalau diperlukan untuk pengadil-pengadil luar, kita tengoklah. Tapi buat sementara ni memang prioriti adalah pengadil-pengadil anak tempatan.
Met after opening a seminar on refereeing and football rules at Wisma FAM, Mat Dali said all the new referees had passed the fitness test last September.
Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says he will stay at the club despite the 2-year ban from European football handed out by UEFA for serious breaches of financial fair play rules. Now, speaking on Wednesday after his side's 2-0 victory over West Ham in the Premier League, Guardiola insisted he was confident the club would clear their name while refusing to go into details regarding what he described as a sensitive situation.
No, I'm not going. It's so sensitive legal. I think I'm not the right person to talk about that. So I cannot talk about. I know a little bit the reason why, but I cannot touch more. I'm sorry. So I'm not a lawyer. So always I can say I support the club 100%, and I'm going to be there.
City are appealing against the ban to the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland, and the club's hierarchy have insisted they have done no wrong and will prevail.
We believe that we are right and we are going to appeal, and maybe it's happened, but don't talk too loud. Barcelona, my advice, don't talk too loud, because everybody's involved sometimes in situations. So, but we're going to appeal, and hopefully in the future we can play the Champions League against Barcelona.
Guardiola has won 2 Premier League titles at City, with his side currently in the last 16th of the Champions League and lies second in the domestic standings, 22 points behind Liverpool.
Now, Porto forward Musa Marega said he wants to leave the recent racial abuse he suffered during a Portuguese league match behind. His coach Sergio told reporters in Germany on Wednesday that the player would prefer for the issue to be over with now, and that other topics could be discussed again.
Centre-back Diogo Leite reiterated the coach's remarks from the day of the game, saying that they are one family.
Nós queremos todos voltar à normalidade. O Musa em primeiro lugar. Nós entregamos o caso a quem tem que ser. O Ministro já falou, o Sr. Presidente também já falou. Nós estamos solidários com ele. Fomos e somos uma família. E isso é o espírito que entra no nosso balneário. Por isso estamos só agora focados no jogo e para que fazemos um bom jogo amanhã. Muito obrigado.
Marega left the pitch in protest after being subject to racist insults during his side's 2-1 win away to Vitória Guimarães in Portugal's Primeira Liga on Sunday. He was shown a yellow card for the reaction, and after the abuse continued, he tried to leave the pitch, pointing his thumbs down to the crowd, but was restrained by his teammates for a number of minutes.
Meanwhile, Bayer Leverkusen attacker Nadim Amiri strongly condemned racism and said it had no place in soccer or society. Now, he was commenting on Porto forward Musa Marega, who suffered abuse during a Portuguese league match on Sunday.
Amiri added that he too experienced a racist attack when he was 17, playing in a German regional league, but added that he got over it relatively quickly and looked ahead.
Ich habe das mitbekommen, das haben, glaube ich, sehr viele mitbekommen. Sowas hat im Fußball und so auch auf der Welt nichts zu suchen. Unser Blut hat dieselbe Farbe von allen. Und ja, ich hoffe, dass so Leute, die das machen, bestraft werden. Die sollen vom Fußball ausgeschlossen werden. Und ich hatte auch mal einen Vorfall, damals mit 17 Jahren in der Regionalliga, aber ich habe das relativ schnell abgehakt und nach vorne geschaut. Und ich hoffe, dass wir alle Nein zu Rassismus sagen.
Leverkusen coach Peter Bosz echoed Amiri's words, saying that the club's stance on racism is clear and that they do not accept it ever.
In pole vault, Armand Duplantis cleared 6.07 meters with jaw-dropping ease to win an international indoor meeting in Levine, but after 3 attempts, the Swede could not break his own world record on Wednesday.
The 20-year-old failed in 3 attempts at 6.19 meters, 4 days after beating his own base mark to set the record at 6.18 meters. Duplantis first beat Frenchman Renaud Lavillini's record of 6.16 meters by 1 centimeter on 8 February. Ukrainian Sergei Bubka's 6.14 meter mark in 1994 remains the highest outdoor clearance, but the IAAF has not distinguished between indoor and outdoor records in pole vault since 2000. Bubka beat his own world record at 4 consecutive meetings in 1991.
Colombian cyclist Egan Bernal, the first Latin American to win the Tour de France, said he wants to make Colombia proud at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics and wishes to focus on defending his Tour de France title this year. Bernal said he would not be competing at this year's Giro d'Italia, with Ecuadorian cyclist Richard Carapaz defending his title instead.
Al Giro va a ir Richard, el equipo quiere darle la oportunidad a Richard y la verdad que Richard lo merece. Es el último campeón del Giro de Italia y él quiere defender su título y la verdad que tiene todo el derecho, así que primero por eso. Segundo, yo nunca he hecho 2 grandes vueltas en un año, nunca he hecho 2 grandes vueltas, así que no creo que este año sea el más indicado, teniendo en cuenta que está Giro, una semana menos de recuperación entre Giro y Tour, por los Olímpicos. Entonces sería Giro, Tour y Olímpicos, porque quiero ir a los Olímpicos y quiero hacerlo bien por Colombia.
Bernal was crowned a Tour winner in July 2019 after retaining the overall leader's yellow jersey during the 21st and final stage, beating teammate and defending champion Geraint Thomas of Britain by 1 minute 11 seconds. He made the comments at the launch of a web-based series called Chronicle the City at a Disadvantage to create awareness about malnutrition in Colombia. According to the National Survey of the Nutritional Situation of Colombia and since 2015, 1 in 9 children suffer from malnutrition in the country.
Betul jahat, dalam rezeki eleh, be anyam domang, ngama et, mu kelele ki bantu mu kelele. Saya ambil daun ni, daun menguam. Lepas saya potong, mengayu. Saya buat jangka untuk meluruskan bagian lembut. Lepas ke 6 air, daerah. Lepas jemur, bila kering dah, sudah Lepas kedua kala, tunggu buat anget, ucup dua kala, pada celup. Lepas celup, suruh kala. Lepas suruh kala, ke mak anyam. Cakap terima kasih leh dengan efek Kalau dia agak beli tiba bangga leh. Terima kasih efek.
And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, Ministry of Health creates virtual health advisory to help address COVID-19's risk communication needs. Join us again at 7 this evening. Till then, I'm Jessica Lee. Stay tuned and have a pleasant day ahead.